Okay. So get comfortable. Hello. Oh, I need a whip. Okay. Get comfortable. We're going to start. So you know you're welcome to grab blankets. If you want to sit up on blankets, you can sit up on blankets. If you feel like you want to sit in a chair, please do. And have your blocks if you don't have a chair. Support's a good thing. So sit however's comfortable. I'm going to straighten out this thing. Close your eyes and just start to watch your own breath now. Just receiving your breaths in and out through your nose. Enjoy feeling your shoulders release down away from your ears, and start to feel your breath coming into your belly, so you feel your belly expand a little bit when you breathe in. And you know, you're welcome to come into deeper breaths. You can come into those 3-part breaths, but don't force your breaths, right? If it's better for you just to kind of watch the breath and be easy, then do. Let your eyes gently close. Let yourself feel your shoulders softening down away from your ears. And just allow your hands to be at a place that's comfortable for your shoulders, right? Whether you like to put them in your lap or release them down beside you, right? Let's go ahead and release our arms on out beside us. Float your arms up just a little away from you. So if you're on the floor, your hands are off the floor a little bit. And let your hands just circle in one direction. Keep going in the same direction. Kind of feel your fingers too. You might even move your fingers around a little bit. And then reverse the direction of those circles. Let yourself reverse. And again, wiggling your fingers just a little bit so you feel the fingers a bit. And then float the arms out a little higher so that you can flex your hands and your hands are out from your shoulders. You feel the undersides of the arms there. And then point your fingertips down towards the ground so that comes more into the tops of your arms. And then start to release so your palms face down. Rotate them up now and float your arms up higher and higher and higher as much as your shoulders allow. And then when you exhale, let your hands come down through the midline to be in front of your chest, in front of your heart. And let's reverse and inhale the hands right up through the midline. And on the exhale, open the arms on back out and down like wings. Let's wake up the spine. Inhale here. And on the exhale, twist to your right. So I'm going to mirror you all here. So coming on around, let yourself lengthen up through the top of your head. And fingertips just lightly touching wherever feels comfortable. One more inhale. And let your exhale draw you on back around through center and go all the way into the other direction. So feeling that twist in the middle of the back. Feel your shoulders soften down. One more inhale. And let your exhale draw you back into center again. And let's come forward a little bit here. So it depends on how you're sitting, right? If you're on the floor, you need to stretch your legs out. Go right ahead. If you like being cross-legged, do. And if you're in your chair, you can separate your feet wider if you want to bring your elbows to rest above your knees. Or even to go down further with your hands, right? So this is all a matter of how it feels in your back. You don't want to do anything that feels uncomfortable to you. You can let your head hang if that feels okay for your back, and feel a little bit of weight there, releasing for the neck. Good, so one more breath here. And then we'll slowly rise on back up And from here, if you're cross-legged on the floor, switch the cross of your legs so you have your other leg in front. You can stretch out your legs in between sides if you need to. And then come on back to sitting comfortably and let your arms come on out beside you again. And this time, let's inhale the right arm all the way out and up overhead, and bend your elbow and be really mindful of your shoulder here. So, you may want your hand to come to the top of your head or the back of your head, or even down to your upper back. And that is totally depends on your shoulder. And then just stretch up through that arm long again, and let's come over into side stretch. So if you're on the floor, you might want to put your left hand right there on the floor to give you a little support. Breathing into the right side. And then we'll rise on back up, and we're going to lower that arm on down beside us. And we're going to inhale the left arm all the way out and up. And then again, when you bend that elbow, everybody's shoulder is different. What do you need to do to let yourself be comfortable in your shoulder, but to be able to kind of get as much as you can for your shoulder here, as far as range of motion there. And then we'll reach up again into a long arm, and we're going to come over into side stretch on the other side. So again, you can put your hand on the floor if you're there. If you're in your chair, you can hold your chair, or you can put your hand in your lap if that feels good. But just breathing into the left side here. Nice, easy breaths, expanding the ribs. Good, and then we'll come on back up. We're going to lower that arm on down. And let's bring our arms forward, right forward of your shoulders with the palms facing towards each other. And then rotate your hands so your palms face away from each other. So your thumbs are down and your pinkies are up. And then from there, bring one hand on top of the other, clasp your hands, but really soften your shoulders down here. And you can come down lower with your hands. Let your gaze come to look at your hands there. Some of you might even want to continue the hands to come up through that hole you've created, and then rest your forehead there on your hands. You don't have to do that part. You can stay with your arms long, but the hands lower, releasing your head forward there. And then if you have the hands up, go ahead, send them back down and through, and start to rise the hands back out from your chest again. And now we're just going to switch the hand that's on top. So just clasp your hands there. Again, shoulders softening down. So as the hands come down, you might want to stay right there. Just let yourself tilt the head forward, or you may want to bring the hands up and through, and maybe rest your forehead right there on your hands, right between your eyebrows. Good, and then we'll send the hands back down and through and forward again to the chest. Again, letting your shoulders be soft. And then just undo your hands and bring the arms straight on out again into that T position. Really reach out through your fingertips. And now, whatever part of your feet are touching the floor, press down into the feet. Whether it's the outside edges of your feet or your heels or the bottoms of your feet. Good, and we're going to release our hands down. If you're in the chair, you can just lean back a little into your chair. If you're on the floor, you can put your hands, fingertips, or flat hands onto the floor behind you. And just let your chest open a little bit there. And be mindful of your neck. Sometimes it feels better just to look forward. Sometimes it feels good to look up a little bit. We're all different in how that feels in our neck, so just be mindful. One more breath. And then we're going to come on back up, and let's come forward a little bit on this side. So if you're on that other leg now, again, when you come forward, if you need to adjust, do it. If you need to let yourself stretch your legs out instead of being cross-legged, or bring the soles of your feet together, or whatever feels good. Just be mindful. You can come as far as you want in that forward bend if you like to bring your hands out farther or down more if you're in your chair. Good, so one more breath. Feel your head hang if you can. And then again, we're just going to slowly bring ourselves on up to sitting. Let's inhale both arms all the way out and up overhead. And as our hands come down together to be in front of our chest, just let the top of the head float upward. Seated mountain. And then we'll unfold our arms on down beside us. Shake out a little bit. We're going to come around towards our hands and knees. So you know, if you don't want to be on your knees, do not be on your knees. You can be up on the seat of your chair with your hands. You can, of course, be on a blanket with your hands or with your knees, right? So, you know, especially if it feels like your knees are digging into the ground, just put a soft blanket underneath them rolled up. Or stay off of them completely, having your hands up higher. And let's go ahead and start to move through our spine. So taking your time now to move through your cat-cows. So how you breathe in cat-cows, you can exhale when you draw navel towards the spine, drawing up into cat pose. And inhale when you move back through to send your tailbone backing up in towards your cow. Or if you end up breathing the opposite, that is okay too. You do want to keep breathing, however. You don't want to hold your breath. Let it feel like the breath really helps you flow through the spine easier, actually. It's like the breath just makes it feel more natural. Move into each of those poses. Finish off the one you're on, and we'll come on into a neutral spine. And let's bring our left foot forward and our right foot back to come into lunge. And you know, if you have your blocks there, you can be any height on them. You can be up on the chair seat. If that is even too low, you can put blocks on your chair seat and be up even higher. So be mindful of the bend of the front knee. Enjoy feeling the back of your right leg. And draw your shoulders a little down away from your ears. Let yourself enjoy coming into your lunge. And we are going to switch legs. So however you need to do that. Coming into left foot back and then taking your time again with that right knee bent no farther forward than your ankle so that you're safe there in your knee. And then draw the shoulders down, find that length in the back of your body. Good, one more breath. And we're going to switch legs again. So sometimes after you do one, to kind of warm up a little, you want to get a little bit longer, but sometimes not. So be where you can, let yourself feel the feet in the floor. If you want to float your front hand, your left hand up to that front thigh, you can. Totally up to you. You don't need to. I know some of you really like to do both hands. That's fine. And then we're going to switch legs again. So bringing that right foot forward, the left foot back. Remember, it's like you're on very narrow railroad tracks, which feels a little better into the hips. Right hand can come up if you choose, up to your thigh, or and let yourself bring your forearm to your thigh if you're in that longer stance. Good. And then let's bring our hands down if they were up and step on forward into our standing forward bend. So check out your feet. Let yourself bend a knee at a time. Walk a little bit in your standing forward bend and let it feel really easy as you kind of shift to that long leg and you kind of come up into way up into your outer hip a little more. And then go ahead and soften both your knees a little bit and come into your forward bend however you need. So you know you are welcome to put your elbows above your knees, to bring your hands down to your blocks or your forearms or hands to your chair. And then just breathe. Let yourself feel those full deep breaths, expanding the ribs on your inhales, feeling like you're letting everything go as far as releasing through your face and your upper body when you exhale. Feel equal through your feet into the floor, so make sure you're not rolling to the inside to the outsides of your feet. Good. And one more breath. As we let our knees bend, we're going to bring our hands to our hips and we'll rise straight on up to standing. And we'll inhale our arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come right down together in front of our hearts. So come into your mountain pose easily. Take your time. Let yourself shift around a little bit if you need to, and get yourself really comfortable in how you're standing there. Good. And then let your arms unfold down beside you. Turn your palms forward. Float your hands just a little bit away from you. Really allow yourself to feel the feet equal in the floor. And then let's inhale the arms up into a wide V. So not really too high, so that you can turn your pinkies towards each other and feel your shoulders naturally come down away from your ears. Good. And then from there, just bend your elbows, put your hands behind your head and clasp them. And press the back of your head gently into your hands, just gently. Just so, feel what happens when you do that. When you push your head into your hands, your belly tightens up a little bit. Make sure your tailbone is reaching down towards between your heels so you're not tucking your tailbone up under you. Nice. And then come back into that wide open V with your arms again, mountain with arms overhead. One more inhale, and if you like to look up, you can look up towards the ceiling. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come on forward into your standing forward bend. And on your next inhale, find a nice long flat back. Lengthen out through your spine. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into lunge. Good. And inhale. Exhale into your downward facing dog pose. So coming back into your down dog, be mindful, be easy where you have your hands. Blocks, floor, the chair, it doesn't matter. You want to focus on that length of the spine. You'll also feel a stretch in the backs of your legs, right? So walk if you need to. Bend a knee at a time. Be easy wherever you have your hands for your shoulders. Good. And on the next inhale, we'll come out towards a plank. Now, you don't have to go all the way into a push-up pose. You can go onto your forearms instead and get out of your hands. Or you can put your knees down if you're on the floor and do a half forearm plank. Right? That is totally up to you. If push-ups feel like a really fun thing to do today, you can bend your elbows. If you can think about them coming in towards your outer ribs, that's a yoga style push-up. And then we'll come on back again into downward facing dog pose. If you need to adjust your hands or your feet, do. And imagine you have a beach ball between your elbows and you're holding it there. So your elbows are just hugging in gently. And we're going to step our right foot forward to find lunge from here. So how you get into that lunge is up to you. A knee or knees down. Stepping forward to find your lunge and bending that front knee no farther forward than your ankle. Good. And then we'll come on forward into standing forward bend again. So again, only you know how your back feels. Be really mindful. If you need to keep that long back, keeping that support under your hands or forearms can do that. If you know you like to release your hands down towards the floor or to hold your own elbows, you can. Feeling your sitting bones over your heels. Legs can be bent, knees can be straighter, it's fine. Just letting yourself release in the backs of the legs. Good. And then we'll bring our hands to our hips. We're going to press into our feet and rise on up. Inhaling our arms out and up overhead. And on our exhale, letting our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Let's unfold our arms. Clasp our hands behind us this time. Let your elbows bend quite a bit at first. So you kind of bring your hands quite a bit above your tailbone, right? And just from here, just imagine what your pelvis is doing with your hands being there to kind of tell you. Because you can tell if you're tucking forward, or you can tell if you're like sending your belly forward and letting your tailbone go back way far. Feel the tailbone reaching down towards between your heels. Feel the low belly just gently engaging. And then we'll release our arms longer and down beside us and inhale them out into that T position like we did when we first started, sitting on the floor. And then rotate your palms up and continue to inhale the hands up only as high as you want. Open V or touch your fingertips together if you want. And on the exhale, bend your knees and come on forward into that standing forward bend. On your next inhale, find a nice long flat back. Lengthen out wherever you want your hands to go to help you do that. Your legs, the blocks, the chair. And this time, left foot will step back and come into lunge. Let your shoulders draw down. Really enjoy. Good. And we'll come on into that downward facing dog pose again. Your hands at whatever height you like. And again, you're kind of endeavoring to get your ears between your upper arms. Well, not everybody's shoulders will be at that point. You can be up a little bit still and have a long back. Right? So just be mindful. And on the next inhale, come on out towards a plank. Again, it doesn't have to be a full plank. You can put your knees down. You can go onto your forearms, do a forearm plank. You can bend your elbows if you like to do those push-ups, Or you can just stay in your plank and really focus on the core of your body. Zipping up the low belly, feeling your sitting bones reaching down for your heels. Good. And then we'll come on back into down dog again. So walk a little bit in your dog. Bend a knee at a time if you can, as long as that's okay for you. And you can always let your head turn a little bit side to side too, so you feel a release in the neck as you're walking. And then finish off to be back in your regular full dog. And this time the left foot is going to come forward for lunge. And again, how you get there, totally up to you. Knees down or a knee down, or coming up and then back into your lunge if you need. And then from here, we'll step forward again to get our feet right underneath us, hips distance apart and parallel, and come into your standing forward bend. So sometimes the more warm you get, the easier it becomes. Your back starts to feel warmer and better, and you can release a little further. But again, just be really mindful. And go to those full deep breaths now. Watch the breath coming in and going out fully. So you actually keep your awareness all the way through to the end of your inhales and all the way through to the end of your exhales. Good. One more nice full deep breath. And then we'll let our hands come back up to our hips, press into our feet, rise up to standing, and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. From here, let's unfold our arms and inhale our right arm all the way out and up. And now just bend both your elbows and let your hands just come into sort of the middle of your back if you can, wherever that might be, right? And then stretch them back out long again. And then let that happen again. Bend both your elbows and let your hands come. This hand might be on the top of your head. This hand might be down here, right? Or you may let your hands come closer together. And then stretch them out long again. You've kind of got a diagonal line going here. See if you can just slowly start to switch that diagonal line. So the left arm is up, the right arm is down. And when you bend your elbows and you think about your hands coming onto your back, it is totally up to you where they go. Remember, anywhere that feels okay in your shoulders. And then stretch into that long diagonal line again. And then we'll do that again. Bend your elbows. And again, take your time. Let it feel okay in your shoulders, whatever you're doing. And then we'll come on back again to long arms. We're going to lower the arms on down beside us. And we're going to inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. Clasp your hands. Turn your palms away from your head. Now, they can be forward or your arms can be directly up with your hands overhead. Let yourself just enjoy feeling as equal as you can between the sides of your body here. One more breath. If you like to look up at your hands, you can. And then as you exhale, release the hands, bend the knees, and come on into your standing forward bend. And on your next inhale, find that long, flat back. And from here, we're going to walk into a downward facing dog pose. So your hands go down and your feet go back. Now, how far you go back, up to you. You know that. How high your hands are, totally up to you. If you're able to spread your fingers nice and wide, do. It's harder on the blocks, but if you're on the floor or the chair. And then from here, we'll come on out towards that plank. It is totally optional to add a back bend of any kind here. You don't need to. You can come down to the floor, do a Sphinx on your forearms. If you like to let your chest come through and let yourself come into up dog, you can. And then we'll come on back into down dog. So take your time. Once you get to dog, if you want to walk or bend your knees, do. Just be easy. Moving around in dog sometimes feels really good. And now we're going to do that same thing again. We're going to come on out to plank, and it is really optional to do a back bend. You don't have to. You can stay in plank. You can let yourself come as much towards plank if you can. And then when we're ready, we'll come on back again into downward facing dog pose. Good. And from here, let's bring our right foot forward to find our lunge. And coming into that lunge, really finding that sense of pressing the feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet, and feel how your belly zips up there, and you can get that length in the back of your body. And then we'll step forward and come on back into standing forward bend. Right to your breath, whatever support you need. Easy, full, deep breaths. Now let your face soften. Try to really just imagine releasing all the muscles of your face and your jaw, which is a pretty big culprit for most of us. Maybe even imagine relaxing your teeth and your tongue. And then we'll let our hands come on up to our hips. We're going to rise up to standing and inhale our arms all the way out and up. And on our exhale, as our hands come down, we'll think about our head getting higher up, top of the head towards the ceiling, higher. So feeling pretty light here now. Letting yourself feel your feet in the ground equally. Finding your alignment of your pelvis, tailbone dropping down towards between your heels. And then just really kind of letting that upper body float on up there. Feeling the space in the spine. Good, and we'll go ahead and release our arms on down beside us. And you can move around however you want. Shake anything out that you want. Walk around if you need to. I'm going to flip my chair around. And if you don't have your chair, make sure you have your blocks there. We're going to step our right foot back and come into Warrior 2 first. So right foot back, left foot about parallel to that long edge of your mat. Go ahead and take your time when you bend that knee. Really be mindful of not going out beyond your toes. And then get that back foot, remember, about parallel to the back edge. How far apart your feet are is totally up to you. Can be 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet. And now just let yourself from here start to float your arms up and let them go higher and higher and higher, above your shoulders a little bit. Let your shoulders now soften down. And then go ahead and lower the hands down where you can look right out over the top of that left hand comfortably. So the arms are straight out from your shoulders. You're reaching out through your fingertips. So think about the arms being even, right? So you don't want the front arm to be higher and the back arm lower. Not that diagonal line we were doing, but instead like a straight line through your arms. Let's turn the left palm up and inhale, reach up towards the sky. Nice full breath into the left side. And on the exhale, we're going to come into side angle. So whether you put your left hand on your thigh or on your chair or your forearm is up to you. And then you can add the right arm up if your shoulder lets you. It can be up into line with the right side of the body. If your shoulder doesn't want you to do that, sometimes just bringing the arm up from your shoulder feels good. So if you want to, come into some range of motion for your shoulder, find what you're able to do there. Good, we're going to come on back into Warrior 2. Pressing those feet away from each other gets us right back into that core strength. And now let your right hand come onto your right hip. We're going to straighten the left knee out. So both legs are straight, and you're going to bring the left hand down for triangle. So it's the same thing you just did for side angle. Your torso lengthens out over that front leg. Where you put your hand is up to you. Your thigh, down your leg a little bit lower, onto the chair back or the chair seat. And adding the arms straight up from your shoulder this time, if you're able to do that. Thighs are lifting up towards the hips. You're lengthening totally out through your spine here. Good. We're going to come on back to Warrior Two from there. And then as our hands come down, we're going to turn our feet more parallel. And you might want to grab your blocks because we're going to come on forward into a wide-legged forward bend. So you can have a block or blocks under your hands. You can have your hands to the floor if you want to go that low. And go ahead and bend a knee at a time. Let yourself just be mindful of if that hurts your knees, not doing it, right? If it feels good to your inner thighs and it's fine for your knees, go right ahead. Good, and now come on back to center. Let both your knees bend a little bit if you can. Let your spine lengthen out. So you feel like your back is like a tabletop, right? You're really flat backed there. Press the feet away from each other like you're trying to make your mat longer with your feet. If you want your legs to come straighter, you can, or you can keep your knees bent. And then at least let your head hang here now if you can. If you want, you can go ahead and let your whole body come on forward, and you can use blocks underneath your forearms, or you can let yourself release all the way back to letting your hands come between your feet and letting yourself release the top of the head towards the ground. That is not for everybody's back. So be really mindful. Use whatever support you need. Let yourself just enjoy nice full breaths now. Watch your breaths all the way in and out. Use whatever support that feels good. Remember, elbows above the knees can be a good support one in this one too. Full, complete breaths. Following them all the way in and out with your awareness. Good. One more breath. Now, when you get ready to rise up, you do whatever you need. You can bring your feet closer together first if you need to before you come up. And if you're dizzy, you might need to stay wide with your feet until you kind of get yourself back in together. And then take your time. Walk around a little bit. You can use a chair to hold on to. We are going to go to the other side here in a second, so move around as much as you need so that when you do get ready to step that left foot back and you kind of get your heels into line, right foot is forward, left foot is back. Take your time, bend that front knee. Again, make sure that knee's not going out beyond your toes. It's right there, stacked maybe right over your ankle or even back behind your ankle, right? And then again, start to think about as the arms float up, they're going to go higher and higher and higher into that wide kind of V. And now, when they get ready to come down, think about making that long line through the arms as you look out right over the top of your right hand and you reach back through your left fingertips. But imagine softening your shoulders down. Your arms are being held up from underneath. Feel the feet equal in the floor. We're going to turn the right palm up and inhale and reach up towards the ceiling. Nice breath into the right side. And on the exhale, come into that side angle. So that right knee is still bent. How low you go with the body coming out over that leg is up to you. And you can add your left arm up or not into line with the left side of the body. Again, if you want to do something, your shoulder doesn't let you do that, try the straight up arm like we do in triangle. So sometimes just doing something to keep some range of motion is a good thing. We're going to go on back into Warrior Two. Press those feet away from each other. It gets you right back into your core strength there. And then bring your left hand down, straighten your right knee out. As your right hand comes down for triangle, it can be up high as you need. You can be up way above your knee. You can bring your hand down to the seat of the chair, the top of the chair, and then again, adding that arm up, that left arm, straight up from your shoulders is up to you. So you just want to find, again, what your shoulder can do, but not pushing it to where it's painful. Thighs are engaging up towards the hips. Lift up, like you're trying to make space in your knees. Lift the thighs upward. And then we'll bend that right knee. We're going to come on back into Warrior Two again, finding that nice long line through the arms, shoulders softening down. And then we'll bring our hands down. Now we're going to turn our feet more parallel. And then again, if you need to grab a block or both your blocks, do it. Bring yourself on down to hands where you can be, right? And they can be as high as you want. You can always bring your chair around too if you wanted. And then from here, if you need to bend your knees one at a time, do. Just kind of adjust a little bit. Make sure you have the width of stance that feels good to you. Good, and then we'll come on back into center. And this time, let's walk over to the right. You can always just use your blocks to walk to the right, or you can have your hands on the floor, walk towards your foot. And just stay there for a couple of breaths. It just changes how you're experiencing this in your legs, in your hips, and your hamstrings, your inner legs. We're going to come back through center, and we're going to go the other side. So again, once you get over there, stay there. Let yourself just feel whatever you're feeling in your legs, the outside of the legs, the inner legs, of course your hamstrings, and then we'll walk back into center again. And then from here, again, take your time. If you'd like to support yourself to come forward, remember, if you stack the blocks up pretty high, you can get out of your hands and be on your forearms and have a really long, flat back. Of course, you can also do that by putting your elbows above your knees if the knees are bent, so you're like in that long back that way. So it is up to you. If you like to bring your hands down, do it. If you like to bring your hands even back towards between your feet so that you're really hanging, just be really mindful of your back. And accept those breaths. If you can let yourself really feel your heavy head, do. Feel that weight of your head. Good. One more nice full deep breath. And again, to come up to standing, that is really up to you. Whether you need to bring your feet together before you come up or after you come up, whatever works. And then again, you can walk around a little bit, move around through your feet, walk around your mat if you want to. And now, I'm going to turn my chair seat to face me. And otherwise, we want to have our blocks, right? So we want to have our blocks underneath our hands or the chair seat underneath our hands. And we're going to step our right foot back and come into lunge. Just a regular lunge, which we did earlier, getting warmed up. See how it feels now compared to when we started. Just feel the back of that right leg, engage your belly a little bit. Good. And now, you may need to pull the foot in a little bit. We're going to come into pyramid because we're going to straighten both the legs out and put that right heel down to the floor. Turn inward just about 20 degrees, right? That back foot has that bit of an angle. So, and if for some reason that bothers your knee, don't do it. Let the angle be less. Go more to parallel with your feet if you want, right? So you got to find what works for you. Your thighs are engaging up towards your hips, like we talked about in triangle pose. And what we're about to do, we're going to lengthen our spine out here, and we're going to come into what's called Revolve Triangle, because we're going to bring our left hand to our left hip and roll that shoulder up towards the ceiling. Now you can keep your hand right there on the low back. You can be palm down or on your fist if that's better for you, right? Just be mindful. Enjoy that. Lengthen out through the top of your head. This really gets into the outside of this left leg here, your IT band. And then come on back down. Let yourself release. Bend the front knee again. Step forward. All we're going to do is switch legs into the lunge first. So left foot is going to step back into lunge. Find your lunge. Really let yourself again. Think about how it felt when we first started. Hopefully it feels a little better. And then to come into that pyramid pose, you might have to bring that foot in a little bit when you bring the heel down towards the ground and you come into straight legs. Lengthen out through your spine now. So instead of bowing over the leg, give yourself height enough with your hands where you can feel a nice flat back. Because coming into that twist from that long back, right hand up to the hip, when you roll that shoulder up, again, you can bring your fist onto your low back there, or you can bring your palm down. That twist is right in the middle of the back. You're trying to be quite level, right there in your sacrum, that flat back, flat part of your back at the low back. Good. And then come on back down with your hand. We're going to step forward, get our feet right underneath us. And then from there, just bend your knees. Come on up. Let's inhale the arms all the way out and up overhead. And on our exhale, let our hands come down together in front of our hearts. Just enjoy a breath or two here in your mountain pose. And if you're feeling like you're swaying around a little bit, just let it happen. You know, sometimes it feels good to sway. It feels good to kind of let your body adjust its way into mountain pose, right? Instead of trying to tighten everything up, right, and come into like you're tensing. You know, mountain is not a pose where you're feeling tense, like you're trying to force yourself into something. It's like you're growing into the pose. It feels very natural, very easy. Because once your body gets aligned, that's what it wants to do. It's easy to stand. We're going to release our arms on down beside us. Shake out just a little bit. Move through your wrists, your ankles, your feet. We're going to do a little warrior three now. So you'll still need those blocks or your chair. So your hands are going to go down either to the chair seat, so you're up just a little higher, or to the highest height of your blocks, right? If your wrists are bothering you, come to fists. You know, you can do this all on your fists if your hands or your wrists are giving you some issues. And then let your feet come just a little closer together. And from here, bend both your knees a little bit and lift your right foot up off the floor. So your knees are there side by side. And now see if you can stretch that right leg back so the toes face down. And there you are in your warrior three. Just stay there for a breath. We're just getting ourselves adjusted. And then put that foot back down. Bend both your knees a little bit. And then lift your left foot off the floor. Your knees are side by side. So now be aware of your hands. Try to stay as even as you can between your hands. And then reach back again. Now that doesn't have to be a high leg back there. It can be lower. It can be as much as parallel to the floor. But the toes are facing down and your hips are level and square. You're probably really feeling it on the leg you're standing on, would be my guess. And then we're going to bring that foot down. Bring yourself into bending your knees again. So this time, we're kind of going to go straight to it. So we're actually going to just straighten our left leg out, lift our right leg up, and point the toes down, and there we are in warrior three. If you want to bring your left hand off of your chair or your block, you can do that. You can bring it to your heart. You can stretch it forward if you want. I love to use the back of the chair. That's why I really like to have a chair in this pose, because you can really hold on to the back of the chair just lightly and then really extend in the pose. We're going to put our hands down and our feet down, foot down, and then we're going to do the same thing. Right leg straight, left leg goes right on back, toes are facing down. Again, if you want to bring your right hand off of the block or the chair, you can. Hand can come to your chest, or you can reach it forward. Again, if you got your chair there, it's like heaven, because you can hold on to it, but at the same time, really engage your belly. Wow, nice, guys. One more breath. And then come on down. And let your feet go wider on your mat. And then bring your elbows above your knees if you can. So you're kind of a little in a squat, but it's a high squat. And you can let your hips and back release there. And just enjoy easy breaths. Good. One more breath there. And now keep your feet where they are. Bring your hands to your thighs. Rise on up to standing. Good. And now once we're there, we're going to inhale our right arm all the way out and up overhead. And then just slide your left hand down the outside of your leg. Come on into the side stretch there. And just enjoy breathing into the right ribs. And then we'll come on up. We're just going to switch arms, switch sides, and go all the way to the other side. So just breathing into the left ribs there. Good. And then come on up and let yourself be like an X. So your arms are up, palms are going to face down, right? And you're kind of like the letter X. So feel that length out through the fingertips. Feel your feet in the floor. Good. And then as you exhale, just bring your hands right together in front of your heart. Take a breath there. With the feet wide, it feels different. Sometimes it's really fun to play with your feet being a little further apart. Again, though, it's the same thing. You want to make sure you're not tucking your tailbone forward. It's actually a little bit easier to do that, isn't it, when you're wide, your feet are farther apart. So think about your reaching your tailbone down towards between the back of your heels if they were underneath you. And then go ahead and unfold your arms. Shake out a little bit. Swing them around a little. And we're just going to come right on down onto our bellies on the floor from here. Yeah? So take your time. Let yourself come on down. Rest your forehead on your hands when you get there. And once you get down, if you want to bend your knees and bring yourself into letting the feet circle around a little bit, or legs, come lower legs side to side, you can. Good. So your back releases, right? Good. And then from here, let yourself come back to long legs. And stretch your right arm out onto the floor, straight out from your shoulder, right? So it's coming out maybe a little lower than your shoulder, maybe straight out. Again, this is one thing where you have to go with your own shoulder. And just that alone might be enough for some of us. If you can put your left hand in by your chest like you're doing a push-up, you can let yourself push into that hand and roll a little bit onto your right side. Now this comes into the arm and the shoulder pretty deeply, so be careful. You know, you don't need to really do that part unless you want to. Opens up a little more across the front of your chest. Good, and then we'll come on back down and we'll go to the other side. So the left arm comes out. If you want your right hand by your chest, that doesn't mean you have to use it and roll to the side, but you can. So if you want to press into the hand and roll a little bit onto your left side, you can. Don't do it if it bothers your shoulder. Good. One more breath. And then we'll come back onto our belly again. And from here, we're going to come up into Sphinx Pose with our elbows pretty much under our shoulders unless we're uncomfortable doing that, right? You can always bring the elbows down more and don't go up so high. You're still in a back bend there. So the belly is just gently engaging, and you're not trying to pull your tailbone down, right? But you are zipping up your low belly, which keeps from too much pressure coming into your low back. So one more breath here. And then go ahead and bring your hands together. Clasp them, send your pinky finger out, bend your knees and lift your hips up at the same time so you're on the flesh above your knees. And pull yourself towards the front of your mat. So once you start pulling and the elbows kind of go more towards the foot of the mat a little bit and you're a little farther forward with your shoulders, your belly and your low back and your hips are working harder. So take your time, feel that engagement of the belly, really flex your feet, really let yourself feel that flexion of your feet. One more breath, and then come on down, and let's go ahead and bring our left forearm parallel to the front edge of our mat, put our head down on our arm, and then bend our right knee, right? And if it feels good to float your head up off your arm, do it. And if it doesn't, don't do it. You can stay with your head down. If you want to think about reaching back with your right hand to get hold of the top of your foot, you can. If that's too much, don't even think about doing that. Some of you might even want to push your foot into your hand and lift your chest up a little higher in half bow. Totally optional. One more breath. And then let your head come down, let your leg come long again, and switch to get your right forearm now parallel to the front edge of your mat, and lie your head down. Bend your left knee, right? Flex the left foot. You'll feel your thigh engaging, and maybe you can float your head off your arm. Again, if that's too much, don't do it. If reaching back for the foot sounds like a good idea, even if you can't get it, you can try. And then there you are in a little quad stretch. If it feels good to push your foot into your hand and rise your chest up a little bit higher, you can. And then we're going to release, let everything come down, bring our arms down alongside our bodies. Turn your palms down towards the floor, but the hands are out off the mat, right? So from there, we'll inhale, our legs up a little bit, and then our head up a little bit. Just stay there for a breath. Let yourself really think about reaching back through your toes. And then release everything down. Take a breath into your low back. And then see if you can keep your head and legs down, but lift your hands off the floor. So you're going to inhale the hands up. There you are. You're reaching the fingertips really down towards the wall behind your feet. And then lower your hands back down. And let's do everything together. Let's inhale up into locust pose, everything we can, up off the ground. Reaching, fingertips and toes back towards the wall behind you. One more breath. And then come on back down. Breathe a couple of breaths into your low back. And you can do that again. Some of you might want to bend your knees, yeah? And you can do a bow pose without reaching back for your feet. You can let your hands lift up off the floor and have your head off the ground. And that's a back bend right there. You can do a locust if you rather with long legs again. Some of you might want to reach back and get your feet. You know, if you like to press your feet into your hands, you can be pretty low in a bow pose, and it's a lot. Or you can lift your feet up and lift your chest up more off the floor if you want. And then we're going to release and come down. And we're going to bring ourselves back towards pose of a child. And everybody's pose of a child is different. You may need to keep your hips up in the air. You can shift your hips back as far as feels okay for your knees and your low back and your hips. Or you can stay kind of forward and kind of lay on your arms with your head, with your hips up, right? We're trying to think of our back, our low back and our hips releasing. But putting strain into the knees, not a good idea. So, again, you have to just be mindful of where works for you. Just let the low back release as you come into feeling it rise with your inhale. So when you inhale, your low back literally expands. It's almost like you're breathing into your pelvis. Good. One more breath. And then from here, let your hands help you to come up and around to sitting. So we're going to come on around. Let yourself release on around to sitting. If you know a blanket is a better idea for you to sit on, then grab a blanket and sit on it. But stretch your legs out for a second and let your feet just circle around. You know, you can even do little windshield wiper blades with your feet. I like to do both side to side like that or in and out. Right? And you know what else feels good sometimes is just to massage a little bit here up in your thighs and even around your knees a little bit. So, you know, be nice to our legs and our knees. We were all just doing quite a bit on them. And let's bring the soles of our feet towards each other, in towards the Badaknasana. Now, For this pose, having the feet out so you have more like a diamond shape is just fine, especially if you know it feels better on your knees. Another thing that helps a lot is if you're having any kind of weird feelings in your knees or your hips, is to put blocks underneath them. And it's fine to bring your feet in close to you too, right? That has to do with how you're built in your hips. So sitting up nice and tall, wherever you are with your feet, and put your hands behind you for a second. Actually do this. Imagine, bring your hands in kind of close. I like to do fists, but I'm going to try to pick myself up off the ground by pushing into my hands. Now, I'm not really seeing space under myself at all, but if I push down and I feel my sit bones kind of float up a little bit, and then I release back down and try to lift up through the top of the head and then bring my hands around in front, I can feel taller, right? So imagine here that you're just letting go in your hips. Your spine is supporting you, and you're releasing in your hips. Almost like your knees are reaching way far away from each other. Not like you're trying to push them down towards the ground. And you can hold wherever you want. Your shins, if you can get there, your ankles, if you want. Just make sure you don't pull on your feet and pull your toes up off the floor, right? So one more breath here. Good. And then if you like coming forward a little bit, you can. If that's too much, don't do it. But when you do come forward, it's like you want to think about your whole back coming forward, not rounding forward in the upper back, which is a totally different story, right? So if that feels like a relief, let yourself come a little bit forward from your low back. Good. And then let yourself come back up. Now, this is optional. You can lean back a little bit, and if you want, try to lift your feet off the floor. Now, balanced Badaknasana. Not for everybody. Don't do it if you don't want to. You certainly, if you feel like you're doing this and you're going to roll back, that's what you don't want to have happen, right? So you can just let yourself balance there. It uses the core strength, the belly and the low back, right? And some people like to play with like letting their feet come apart, one leg coming out at a time. Now that makes you even more use your core body, right? So if you're going to do that, you've got to really feel the belly, the low back working. And you can do both. You can go for both. You can, if you want, you can hold your feet, right? And let kind of be like almost like a bear. Right? But that's really using your belly and your low back a lot. So play with that for a breath or two. It feels really good to try to stretch your legs long just because you want your legs to stretch out, right? And then when you're ready, let yourself release. Let's bring our knees up and stretch your legs forward enough where your feet are on the floor, but now you can kind of sit up comfortably by holding the back of your thighs, right? And now we're going to actually bring your feet all the way together. And think about your knees coming as much together as you can, but don't force it, because we're going to do a twist, right? So bring your left hand kind of over towards the outside of your right knee there, and then just bring your right hand behind you. So you're coming into twist. Now try to really feel both your sitting bones in the ground. It's actually a kind of a hard twist. Feel the feet in the floor. Lengthen up. Let the right fingertips just lightly touch the floor back there. One more breath. And then slowly come on back into center. Take a nice inhale here. And on the exhale again, you bring the hand over, let yourself release the left fingertips back behind you. Now you're still sitting up really tall, really feeling the sit bones down nice. And it just brings the chest around. You feel so nice and open across your chest. One more breath. And then let yourself come on back around. Hands behind you. Be on your fingertips. Let your chest draw forward. And now if you can, let one leg at a time come down long, right? I get to slide on the floor so it's easier. And then just open up through the chest here. Let yourself bring your gaze up a little if you can. Remember, you don't want to drop your head back and put any kind of undue pressure. Some people, though, it feels really good to open the throat, to look up like that, right? Some days can do that and some not. So be mindful. One more breath. And then we're going to release and come on back forward. Shake out a little bit. We're going to turn around and, I'm going to turn around, but you're just going to lie down on your back. But before you go down, have your blocks kind of handy in case you want them. And you can come down to the floor however you want, right? Bend your knees, bring them in towards your chest. Let yourself release side to side with the knees. If you feel better to put your feet up in the air for a happy baby, by all means do it. You know, or maybe you feel better to do the same Badaknasana, soles of the feet together. Whatever releases your hips and your low back right now after what we just done, right? So be mindful. Stretch your legs out if you need to. Let the knees come side to side in whatever way that feels good. Good. And then stretch your legs on up. Let your arms come out beside you into a T position and just do an old-fashioned bicycle up there in the air. Now, if you can, you know, see if your feet can go a little more towards the ground, but you know, be really mindful. Don't let the low back pop way up off the floor. So you have to engage your belly more to bring the pedaling down a little bit. And then go back up towards the ceiling again with the pedaling, right? And just again, if you can, go down a little bit more towards the floor. And now try back pedaling, just for fun. And back pedal your way back up to the ceiling. And then come into long legs. Good. Bend your knees, bring your feet to the floor, and set up for a little bridge pose of choice. So if what you want to do is grab your block, go for it. If you'd rather let your elbows bend and do the robot arms or do long arms, and press up into a bridge pose of choice, right, for you. What feels good? Does it feel better to let yourself release onto a block, or do you really feel like you want to press into your arms and lift your hips up? Now remember, when you get up into bridge pose, you don't want to tense up, right? You don't want to feel like your buttocks are gripping real tightly. You want to feel lengthened, both in the front and the back of your body. So, you know, if you feel like, I want to come down, you can come down, you can go back up again when you choose, you can let yourself decide to grab a block and use it. And you can even go up and down off a block if you so choose. You know, you can be supported, but then if you want, lift up off the block. So remember, you'll feel bridge in your thighs, but you don't want to feel it in your low back. And I know some of you, when you're on the block, like to play with legs coming up. If you'd like to do that, you can. You can lift a leg or legs up. You can do leg lifts if you like that sense of engaging a little more in your belly. If you like lifting up and coming down a few times too, you can do that. So that you're able to allow your body to do what it needs to do. And when you're coming down, and you don't have to, but if you are already down, some of you are, bring your knees on into your chest. Take your time, either a happy baby or just knees in. And then whether you decide you want to keep your knees in towards your chest or put your feet down on the floor, we're going to let our arms come out beside us and let our knees come from side to side a little bit. So, you know, that might be better done for you with your feet on the floor, or you might feel much better to allow yourself to have your knees into your chest and go side to side. And how far you go with it, too, is totally up to you. decide that you need some support to be comfortable, to be on the ground for Shavasana here, you may decide, well, I really can't get comfortable. So, I mean, it's okay to roll onto your side. And you also might decide that you need something under your head. So if you need a little bit of support, so look for a sign. Pretty good at sign language. So wave at me. The idea of a bolster sounds good. Is that good? And you know, if you need to move your arms or your legs around a little bit to be more comfortable, do. Is that a good spot? Yeah, that's great. If you need a blanket for underneath your head, let me know. And just accept your breaths now. Just receiving your breaths in and out. And watching them. And you know, all meditation is refocusing every time your mind wanders off. So if you can just keep refocusing back to your breath, your mind will become a little quieter. You're never going to stop thought. But there are some nice little quiet places that come in there. So just be okay with what happens when your mind wanders off. No judgment, just come back to your breaths over and over. Give yourself these few minutes and allow yourself to completely and fully relax. in. Fingers and toes, maybe you want to wiggle and move. Your hands and your feet might want to move around. You might want to circle hands and feet to get your wrists and ankles moving. And take your time stretching into your arms, your legs, or bringing your knees in towards your chest. Let your body naturally come back to moving the way that feels good to you. And you know you're welcome. Stay on your back or to roll to either your right or your left side. If you're comfortable to come onto your side, you can have your knees bent and be in a soft fetal position. Appreciate being cradled by the ground a little bit longer if you can. So that when you start to feel like you're ready to rise up, it feels like the next natural thing to do. To allow yourself to lengthen upward and find a good way to sit so that your hips feel comfortable. Let your hands go to a place so your shoulders feel comfortable as well. And let your eyes be gently closed once you're seated so that you can come back to watching your breath again. Now that you're back upright and enjoying the space in the spine. Feeling the breath coming in and going out through your nose. And let your next exhale bring your hands to meet there, right in front of your chest. Feel that connection with the fingers, the thumbs, the palms. And wishing each one of you a very joyful day. Namaste.